This is a brief video for anyone with a 4th gen Prius that did not come with a spare, unfortunately. I know it's real stupid, but modern vehicles don't come with spares. They give you the jack and the tools and the goop. But if you're 500 miles away from civilization and your tire blows up, goop's not really going to help out. Anyway, for my specific touring model, I don't know if it's the same for the other Prius models or other 4th gen Priuses. A caveat is this: if you do this retrofit, you will not have these nice tight gaps. The fitment is not going to be OEM. It's not going to be perfect. Also, most importantly, in my opinion, is the fact that this height will be raised. So you'll get a few less inches of cargo space. I think it'll end around here instead. If that's really important to you, I don't see how that amount of space can be that important to you, but you know, every inch counts, as they say. Anyway, so it's going to be a total of 8 pieces that I'm going to be showing you, but you can get away with 7, and I'll show you those differences. Firstly, the top cover. As you can already see, this has like an elevated raised portion here. That's because it sits lower, and there's a bar there that shows you why it has to have that elevated portion. These are pretty much the same shape, basically same dimensions. Once again, this is different because this piece sat lower than this piece will. This is also going to be slightly different here, and I'll show you what happens as that is a result. Also, the bottoms are different. This is like a nice plastic material. This foam is also a different length. And this is like some really gross looking foam material. Unfortunately, I prefer this. But, okay, let's get started. So this was the top piece. Then these 2 pieces, this has to pop off, as well as the left side. Pop right off. Not side specific. There's a rivet area or a grommet area on both sides. One here. Pops right up. Also same thing on the other side. Pops right up. These just pull right out now. Very simple, very easy. Similarly, we install these pieces. Once again, grommet on both sides. Pops right in. Well, it should. Pops right in. Pops right in, I guess. No, it's in. Now these 2 pieces, obviously completely different than the others, because these are a lot taller. Completely different height. Not side specific, just pop right in. It even has an arrow on them, and I'll provide all the part numbers of what I used in the description of this video. Make sure everything's nice and snug and tight. Now obviously comes the spare. OEM Spare retainer portion with a threaded stud. Seems like all the Priuses, all the 4th gen Priuses already have this female threaded portion, so obviously tighten this down. I'm not going to fully tighten it yet. Then the center portion, center foam portion. This just very easily sits here. Done. Probably the easiest part. Alright, here's where you got to pick your poison. Here are the 2 pieces. 2 top pieces. This is the correct one, quote unquote. And here, once you get this lined up, as so, you can see the inches that we once had are now gone. Also, this fitment, unfortunately, not as nice, not as tight. Same thing here. And it just doesn't feel OEM. It doesn't feel right. It sits just higher, it just doesn't feel as nice. But that's pretty much it if you're using all of the original pieces. Now what happens if you use the other piece? Let's make sure this is all. Yep, this is correct. Here's my original nice and clean piece, not from the dirty junkyard. Line up the bottom. It's lined up. Oh boy. Alright. Lined up nicely. It just does not want to fit the same way. It doesn't. Also, more gaps here. Huge gap here. And it seems like it's really rubbing tight here, and now there's a huge gap here. This is elevated, so you're losing that space for no reason. It looks like every time I put this in, it pops off that right piece. See? Oh, they're both popped off. So that's not really a good thing. Looks like you're gonna want to go with that 8th piece if you can get it. Because see, look, when I line this up, it's perfectly lined up right now. Look where it fits. That's why every time I go to put it on, it knocks those plastic pieces loose. I guarantee you they're loose now. Yep, loose. But it's not the correct piece. So once again, you can use this. Will it fit 100%? No, obviously not. Will it have these large gaps? Yes. But in a pinch, it'll work. If you can't get this top piece, go ahead and use the one that came with your Prius that did not come with a spare. I'm gonna use, since, oh great, that just broke. Wow, excellent. Anyway, I'm gonna use the piece that I purchased. All right. I'll fix that later. Good old JB Weld. Yeah, see, it fits better. Doesn't have that gap, doesn't have those crazy gaps here and here and here. A little bit of a gap there, not so bad, not so bad. I'm not satisfied with this. But hey, I have a spare, so you know, I want to go camping and drive far away and not have to have that anxiety that, great, if my tire blows up, Goop to the rescue. All right, well, upon further investigation, I figured out why exactly that foam piece broke on the new piece that is used with the spare jack setup. This distance right here. So this is the nice plastic one that came with my touring model. This is the gross one that came from the junkyard. Here we're at 3.5 inches. Here we're at less than about 2.5 inches. So since this is pushed further this way, if you don't use the correct top piece, you will inevitably rip that foam portion. So giving you another reason why you should be using the correct top foam piece. You could also just not use these pieces back there and get by on that, and you won't end up ripping this piece like I did. It kind of just sits there anyway. But if you want to do it the correct way, then you're going to want to use the correct top piece, which technically does fit better anyway. You have less gaps once again. But there you have it. Enjoy the Prius. I forgot to mention, but if you use the OEM Prius all-weather mat in the trunk mat, it will help alleviate some of the gaps that do present themselves if you do retrofit or add the spare tire kit. Unfortunately, this is the OEM Prius all-weather mat that I got with my touring model. So as you can see, it does have gaps here, here, and this has got that raised portion because this whole piece was supposed to sit lower and use the OEM top cover. Now that it doesn't have that, it doesn't fit as well, but at least if you have items here, they won't be falling in these newly presented cracks if you're using the OEM top cover piece. So let me show you what that looks like, the difference. So this is the top cover. That's the correct one, the dirty one from the junkyard. And if I add the incorrect one, we're not gonna use these just for the time being. If I add the incorrect one, once again, you get these large gaps here, large gaps here, here, here. It just doesn't fit as well as we already discussed. But if you use this mat, it's a lot better because at least it'll contain what loose items you have in your trunk, and it'll prevent them from falling in those gaps on the sides and on the front area. So there you go.